My name is John McDaniel, and I'm about a year into retirement, and I'm learning to hit curveballs.
Welcome to the Redirect Podcast, where we explore what comes after career. Real conversations about transitioning from the 9-to-5 grind to your next great adventure. Whether you're heading into retirement or simply redefining what purpose means, we're here to inspire, inform, and help you reimagine what's next. This isn't the end of the road. It's the start of something new. Adam and Dale, it's great to see you again. We have another wonderful conversation and a guest that we need to hear their story. Today we're joined by our first friend of the Redirect Podcast, John McDaniel. John's episode, Just Retired, was episode number 3, guys. Episode number 3, released back in February of 2025. We discussed at that time his retirement strategies and expectations because he was going to be leaving the workforce in December of 2024.
Or did leave the workforce.
You did leave the workforce. So, John, you're almost a year into your retirement. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you. Before we get into the conversation, though, on what's been going on in your life for the last year, we've re-listened to episode 3, and we've got some sound bites that we want to bring back to sort of see what you said is what you're doing or maybe not.
Is this like a coach's challenge?
It could be a coach's
We're
challenge.
throwing the red flag.
It's more like Chris Wallace on 60 Minutes saying, let's go to the tape.
Oh, here we go.
It's
Great lead-in. Great lead-in.
Yeah. Asterisk to that. That was your first, one of your first freeform podcasts where it had we didn't know where we were going or what we were going to say.
Exactly right. So this is what you said, and now we're going to see where we go.
What happens.
What are you doing 2 months from now?
I'd like to be doing something and that gains me a little bit of money.
Okay.
Side hustle. Yeah, a couple of things going on there.
Maybe producing a podcast or something.
Possibly, yeah. We're in negotiation right now.
We'll double your pay right now.
Okay, it's done. Well, I'm doing the nonprofit thing, helping out this theater, and I'm going to be fairly involved in that on a regular basis. And I'm looking for other things to do in that area, some things that are sort of maybe underserved.
So, that's what you said. What did you do 2 months after?
It's like he's on the witness stand.
Well, why not? That's what this is for. We're bringing him back to sort of see what he said is right or not. Put him in the Budweiser hot seat. Go.
Comparing him to his own words.
I am, in fact, still working with the Loveland Stage Company and have accepted a chair position, serving the board there.
Congratulations.
To lead a small team that's providing an entire array of sound services, from musicals to music shows to film nights and film festivals. So we're trying to help them grow out there. So
very cool.
How much are you investing of your week or hours per week into that experience?
It varies quite a bit. I have a board meeting to go to once a month, and I have to work with some of the other team members on getting things set up. So it could vary from an hour to a week to maybe 8 or 16 if I'm running a couple of shows or helping run the film festival or something like that.
Okay, cool.
You see this going forward for a while?
Yeah, I like the group. I support what they're trying to do, and I especially support the direction that they're trying to take, which is to broaden the palette of offerings that the stage company has for the community. You know, they were primarily musicals and some plays, and they've expanded into some live music appearances by up-and-coming artists and the film festival and other kinds of special film showings. So
sounds like some good growth.
Yeah,
which is very cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to growing along with them.
So you also mentioned consulting. I think you were planning on doing a little bit of that. How's that going?
I'm doing a little bit of consulting for somebody here and there. 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week. Kind of depends on what's going on. For stints that are 4 or 5 weeks long, 6 weeks long, just doing some consulting on budgets and cost analysis and things like that. Not involved in production or going out in the field. I'm basically a spreadsheet jockey.
Mm-hmm.
You made a comment in the tape then about doing some type of part-time job, and I know it wasn't 2 months after that, like we asked the question, but I know that you joined us over at Nate Torp's Nursery Outlet.
I did. You managed to put in a word for me, Curt, that I think...
Still hired you.
Yeah, exactly. Made it a little easier to get in.
Did you get the referral bonus?
Just having John there is all that we need.
Yeah.
He's a part of the family now.
Yeah, working at Nate Torp's, that's a seasonal work, so it's only like 7 weeks, and they're only open 4 days a week, and you can work 2 days a week if you want to, which is what I did. So, work a couple of days, get to hang out with a lot of really good people and a lot of good customers and a really well-run and fantastic operation out there. And I hope to come back in the spring when they do their about a 10-week sprint so they're open.
Oh, yeah. You wait until you hit spring, baby, especially around Mother's Day.
Yeah.
If I were you, I'd plan another cruise.
Yeah.
But no, it's great having you there, and it's good work. You're outside and you're dealing with people, and it's a great company to work for. So that's sort of cool. So, all right, I want to go to the next clip, and this is sort of talking about relationships. So here we go.
I'm very interested in your wonderful wife, Penny, now has you at home. Have you guys talked about redistribution of jobs? Because you are on the road a ton and gone a lot, and you had the opportunity to certainly work from home, but this is going to be new for her as well as for you. How do you manage that?
I don't think it's that much different. I think two things helped us.
Just going to leave it that much different. Is your time with Penny that much different than when you were working?
I think we're freer to be a little bit more spontaneous, to go out to eat, just because I'm around more. She loves to cook, and I'm extremely fortunate that she's very good at it. She won't hardly let me in the kitchen. So we eat a lot of really good meals at home, but we like to go out on occasion and get out and do some other things. There's some things we'll talk about later, I think, that influence how that's going.
Okay.
Now with us, we both are having our own struggles with certain things, and we've got to support each other in that. So.
Okay, cool. One more thing is I want to get into, you talked about the Redirect podcast during that episode as well. And we got into a bunch of things on planning and such, and you shared your thoughts there. But I wanted to bring up a couple of clips on the Redirect podcast as far as the learnings out of it.
Talk to us for a second about what appeals to you about this Redirect endeavor. I'm sure there's probably a bit of an itch that gets scratched with the producing of it.
It's an opportunity to listen, and listening means learning.
So, have you been listening to the Redirect podcast?
I have. I haven't listened to every single one, but I've listened to quite a few.
And what
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. What are you thinking about what we're doing?
I think it's great to hear the stories of people who are coming from all different directions, about what they've done, what they've accomplished, what they've struggled with, where they're going, what they're trying to do.
Were there any episodes that really stick with you? Not necessarily specific episodes, but bullets that came out of episodes that you sort of like, wow, that's something that means something to me.
I think some of the health-related ones resonated with me a lot, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to maintain good health and work out in the gym and get on the racquetball court and do those kinds of things, and maybe even make up for some years of not doing as much as I could have in terms of trying to stay healthy and strong. It was also inspiring to hear people who were telling rather vulnerable stories. Adam, you shared a lot and were very vulnerable in a podcast, and that impacted me a lot. And the Mike Fox podcast was a really good one.
That's one of our best. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mike's a fantastic guy, and we went out and had beers after I listened to that.
Wow.
Got together a little bit, but that was a really impressive podcast. So I think it's the stories, and it's people who are willing to tell them in a vulnerable way is what's inspiring.
All right, I got one more, and this is sort of near the end of the podcast, so let's listen to this.
Don't say no to anything. Go do it, because a lot of people have found what they want to do by just saying yes to something and then discovering, oh, I didn't think I was going to like this, but I do like it. In fact, I not only like it, this is what I want to do. So you're cutting yourself off from a lot of opportunities when you say no.
So don't say no to anything. And obviously you're here, so you didn't say no about coming back in. So we're thankful for that. But have you had any experiences that popped to mind in this year that you didn't say no to and you got into, and all of a sudden it revealed something more?
My friend Rob Fetters, who's a musician and is well known in certain esoteric guitar circles and esoteric rock and roll circles, was doing a house concert and invited me to it. And Penny and I were in particularly low spirits and kind of too tired to do it. But I surprised her and said, I talked to Rob. He's doing a house concert. He's not going to be doing these much anymore. I really want to go, and I think we should go, even though we're, maybe inclined not to because we're kind of beat up and tired. So we did, and it was hugely inspiring. Penny was just like over the moon after going to that. So that was an instance of where we didn't feel like we wanted to, but we did it anyway, and it was hugely rewarding.
So it's happened years gone by. Tell us about how it's going. You mentioned something about curveballs, and throw it to us, John.
Well, about 6 weeks ago now, I guess, our home suffered a pretty substantial fire. Started in the kitchen and affected 2 rooms adjacent to the kitchen fairly severely, and a lot of smoke and soot damage throughout the entire house, 2-story house. So
and they're gutting that thing.
They're taking it down to the studs, every last bit of the house. It'll be down to basically a balloon frame. There will be the exterior, which was only lightly damaged in a couple of places. So the exterior is largely intact. Structurally and frame-wise, it's largely intact.
So about when did that happen?
It was on a Saturday, September 25th, I think.
So it's still relatively new.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you've been displaced.
Right.
You've everything in your home is probably in different forms of issue.
Yeah. I would say we probably lost half or more of all clothing. Lost a lot of electronics and those kinds of things, especially a studio setup. And just lost. We didn't lose a lot of personal items like photos and historical family stuff. That was pretty well stored and almost the furthest away from the fire. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of stuff that's in limbo, that's been taken off-site for cleaning or restoration to see if it can be brought back into the house. Yeah, some of it will be determined non-salvageable, and then you get into the whole insurance thing about compensation.
But Penny's love of piano and being a piano teacher in the house to kids in the neighborhood, that's a big disruption too. Yeah,
fortunately, a Cincinnati Music Academy down the street from us, where she taught before she moved to semi-retirement with her teaching. She had a studio there and taught at home. They've rounded up some studio space for her to continue her teaching. So we were just talking last night. She actually, in terms of the lessons she's delivered and the way it's worked around the holidays, she's only missed 1 week of teaching with the kids in terms of what she technically owes them under their payment plan. So that's something that she's been able to lean back into for sort of something to hold on to that's stable and part of the routine, of teaching. So that's been good. We've had a tremendous amount of support from people in the neighborhood and from all over, from the choir that she sings in and folks at church and food trains and all that kind of stuff, because it was pretty disorienting in the beginning. We didn't get into the housing that we're in now, which will be there for the next 8+ months. It took us about 3 weeks to get that set up, so we were kind of couch surfing a little bit.
Wow. So, here we're called the Redirect Podcast. Talk about redirection. My heart goes out to you guys and all the disruption that's happened in your life and how you're dealing with it, which I think that's inspiring. So obviously it wasn't a part of your retirement plan. All right. And
Managing contractors.
exactly.
Who
You're
are
jumping
all-
out of your comfort zone.
Oh, wait a second. He's a producer.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He's probably
Well,
doing
I think
a lot of production right now.
Yeah, I think Penny's probably sick of my producing on this, but I think it'll benefit us in the end.
So tell us about that. What are the things that you gleaned from this? What are the things that you're learning? What are the things that they're just sort of changing what your day-to-day is now?
Well, I think we all recognize that, things are not the most important thing in the world. The fact that everybody's safe is extremely important. But I think it doesn't really hit you for real, that sort of, axiom that everybody repeats and sort of believes in. But when you really are separated from those things and they're a pile of ashes or rubble, or you're digging through trying to find things in that ashes and rubble and you can't find them and eventually don't, it hits home and things really are not the most important thing. And we had a lot of stuff to dig through last weekend, the final pass before the demolition guys came in. And there was a lot of stuff that was non-salvageable, and the demolition guys would have put it in the umpteen dumpsters that have been through there this week. But we actually threw away a lot of stuff ourselves that weekend because the actual act of picking them up, all kinds of books out of the house on the bookshelves in what was sort of a built-up library back in the days when everybody bought books, and throwing them in the dumpster and letting go of them was a cathartic act that we would have not benefited from if we had just walked away and let somebody else clear the house and throw them away. So we purposefully did some of our own dumpster tossing.
Boy, it certainly comes back to a couple of our episodes that's talking about getting rid of stuff and the freeing part of that. I wouldn't want to be forced into it, but the reality is this is another example of throwing stuff.
Oh, my kids are delighted. I think they realize now that someday they're not going to inherit a house full of crap.
Yeah.
But I did say to Penny, aside from the house, everything that we own right now physically that hasn't been replaced via the insurance company, I was like, I think we could fit everything we own right now in the back of 2 pickup trucks. We could just take off and say, ooh. See you guys later. We're out of here. We're going to hit the road. But we look forward to getting back into our home.
So you mentioned your son and daughter. So how has all this affected them? How did they, I guess, play their role throughout this drama?
They've been great. They've been fantastic. They've been just beyond fantastic. My daughter printed out a whole bunch of photos and put them into frames and brought them over to the house. I call it the house where we're living now, which is in a duplex. Brought them over so that we could hang them up, put them on the mantle, and
Make it feel like home.
Make it have a sense of home. Yeah. So
Yeah.
all pictures going back through her college graduation and Penny and I on different trips.
Wow.
And even actually a picture that's up on the wall of our wedding day, the two of us, looking much different, incredibly younger.
That's gracious.
Which is 40 years ago, actually. This year is our 40th wedding anniversary.
My gosh.
So 40 years taken off is quite a picture. They've been great. My son and daughter, we had a little bit of a heart-to-heart talk, and they expressed some opinions and feelings about the future of that property and that house, and they wanted us to know that, hey, whatever you do with this house, don't do it with the thought in mind that either one of us is invested in this in any kind of way, whether financial or future inheritance or emotionally or whatever. We grew up there. We love that house, but that doesn't mean you have to keep it.
Wow, that had to have been
What a
relief, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, and they were really smart about it. They were like, this is the juncture at which you have options. You can fix it up and then sell it, or you can fix it up to your taste, or you can fix it up to quote unquote the market's taste, or you can whatever 3 or 4 different ways to go with this as far as how you use this as planning out the rest of your retirement, right? How you approach this.
And this was their initiation.
Yes. Yeah.
I think this would be a good time to take a quick break. If you're enjoying our show, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to comment. And if you like what you're hearing, leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback not only makes our day, but helps other listeners discover our content. Your support through listening, sharing, following, and reviewing means the world to us and helps our podcast grow. Thanks so much for being part of the Redirect family. So let's now get back to our conversation. What an important conversation to have. I know we kind of joke or laugh about it because I have 2 boys and they're someday we'll get this house. Well, do you really want it? I mean, is it really going to fit? But it's a conversation, to have seriously. I think with those that, kind of have a vested interest in where you live.
Yeah.
So the fire, big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's okay. Thanks for joining the Redirect podcast. I mean,
Right.
that's a big mountain,
That's a
man.
redirect.
I mean,
Now on to the next big bummer. No.
well, yeah. Is there another curveball?
You said curveballs.
Well,
So what up?
you, Curt, were kind enough to give me a ride the other day. Pick me up at a time in the morning when my wife didn't want to get up that early. No, not really. She had things to do that morning and could not take me to an appointment, but you took me to an appointment.
I did.
To get an epidural because of some issues in my back that I've been dealing with since basically the beginning of the year. And thanks to the insurance company, I've done chiropractic and I've done traction and I've done physical therapy and I've done e-stim and I've done just about every possible treatment you can do. And had my second epidural here recently in preparation for a trip so that I can be pain-free. But I've been dealing with a lot of back issues, which I know Dale knows a tremendous amount about, and actually you do too, Curt.
Yeah.
Just part of being a person who's been active to some degree, and those discs start bulging and pressing on nerves and stuff like that. So in and out of a lot of pain the last 6 months, and I'm destined for surgery in January or February of next year.
Wow.
Yeah. The guy who gave me the doc who delivered the epidural pulled me aside with the first one, and he said, "Look, I'm just going to be straight up with you. You're going to need surgery. This is not going to. This is a stopgap solution for you, but you're going to need surgery." And then after the second one, he looked at me and he said, "I want you to call Dr. Nasser and set up that surgery." He said, "This is the real deal. You're gonna have to do it."
And that's happening in January.
Yeah, we haven't picked an exact date, but it'll be January or February. Yeah. We're going. I mentioned our 40th wedding anniversary earlier. Next Tuesday, we leave to do a river cruise from Amsterdam through Germany on the Rhine River and ending up in Basel, Switzerland. So we're going to get away, shut off all American calls on the phone,
Good.
and spend some time together for our 40th wedding anniversary. This trip has been planned for a really long time, and so that was part of the epidural, just making sure that I can hike my way through all the tours and everything along the Rhine River.
And I'm glad you're still taking the trip because you said you made reservations on this a long time ago. I'm glad you didn't sit back and say, "No, we got to deal with this fire." No, go, enjoy, get out, and I'm sure that countryside is. I've never been there. I don't know if you guys have been to Germany, which I imagine is gorgeous, and plus with your love for music, there's a lot of music there.
Yeah, we're going through Strasbourg.
The sound of music is there, isn't it?
That's Austria.
Oh, sorry. Okay. See, that's my limited knowledge.
Yeah, Switzerland, Austria. Strasbourg is going to be a great place to go. And someone that Dale and I worked with, Bjorn, is from that area of Germany. So he's going to be advising me on the best beer to get. He loves true German beer. Every time he goes home, he comes back and says there's nothing like it. So looking forward to that. So that's going to be a great trip.
Any other curveballs while we're on the curveball topic?
Nothing that's happened this year per se. I mentioned the inspiration I've received from the podcast that Mike Fox did in talking about his mental health and taking care of his mental health, and the podcast that you did.
Talking about my cancer.
Yeah, yeah. And those were inspiring and have inspired me to talk a little bit more about my health and where it's been over the longer term. I am now a little over 9 years in to having Parkinson's disease as a part of my life. And I've chosen those words recently to reference it as a part of my life because I read a friend's post on Facebook about a lifelong condition that she will be dealing with, and she described it as a part of her life now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great way to voice it and look at it, because I think saying it that way helps define it as not who I am or something that dominates my life, but it's a part of my life. It's only one aspect of my life, not something that dominates either my thinking or how I act or how I make decisions. They're not all going to be grounded in that.
Is that an exercise of you defining it and not letting it define you?
Yes.
Interesting. And how I get the sense in some of our previous conversations, like you've largely kept this under wraps from the general populace for quite a while.
Yeah, about 8 years plus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was first diagnosed, I did not discuss it with anybody except family, doctors, and a couple of close friends. Mm-hmm. And I kept it that way for about 8 years because I didn't want, part of it's just vanity, frankly.
Sure.
I didn't want I was afraid people would think of that first when they thought of me.
Think of you in those terms.
Right.
Because if you don't go on the offensive, this is more of a question than a statement. If you don't go on the offensive about how you define it, then other people start to define you by that as well, right?
Yeah, and it's like I realized after the Mike Fox episode that after learning about Mike Fox, the first thing that I think, the first several things I think about Mike Fox is that he's a wonderful guy. I loved working with him. I would love working with him any other time, and he's a great guy and a huge asset on a team. And I don't think of him first, second, or third or whatever as someone who dealt with a struggle with mental health and fought it back and came out the champion. But I just don't think of him in that way, and I've decided that talking about it to people, I'm not going to walk up to people and say, "Hey, my name's John McDaniel, I got Parkinson's," but be free to talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's a disease that is unique to every single instance in which it occurs. All people have a different set of symptoms. The symptoms are huge, a huge universe, and each collection of symptoms is a different story for a different person. So you'll hear stories of people who said, my uncle was diagnosed with Parkinson's and 6 months later he was dead. Or, my grandfather had Parkinson's and he lived for 25 years with it and it didn't affect him very much, and everything in between. And I've been extremely blessed to be on a trajectory that is almost a flat line. My doctor is giving me a hard time all the time about taking it too seriously myself, being too worried about every little thing. Mm-hmm. I saw her just a week and a half ago, and she does a bunch of physical assessments of movement and all these different other things for balance, and my score is like a 4, and my scores are always in the lower single digits, 4, 5, 6, on a scale it's a portion of a larger scale, but on a scale that's like 50 or 60.
Wow.
That's part of a larger scale that goes all the way up to 200 or 300, but this is just a subset of tests. So I've done very well. I'm symptomatic in some ways that people who are familiar with Parkinson's will recognize. I've had a few people say, yeah, I knew. I kind of suspected because I had a family member who had it and noticed a few things. A lot of it is dependent on where you are in a medication cycle. I take medication every 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And so the half-life is very short. And so I have some some movement that is involuntary in my arm, my right hand, my right leg. I'm still symptomatic on the right side. It typically starts on one side for people and then eventually moves to the other side. So I'm extremely fortunate. I take it as a good thing where I am. I had previously said, I have Parkinson's, or I never say I suffer from Parkinson's disease, but yeah, I read a post on Facebook and I thought, wow, that's a really great way to frame it. I need to be thinking that way. Yeah. So I'm trying to voice it that way and think of it that way.
That sounds like a way to move forward for just that change in perspective, really, because that's really all it is, right?
Yeah.
It's a change in your own perspective. Sounds like a way to move forward with that, with more maybe intentionality or acceptance or guidance for others and how to deal with this around you, right?
Yeah, and one of the things is something I'm terrible at is self-assessment. I ruminate on that a little too much. So you're looking at yourself and it's like the doctor says, look, you're 64 years old. Everybody who's 64 finds himself in the basement going, why did I come down here? What am I coming to get? Or can't remember the name of a movie or something else, the name of somebody. So you're not that weird or odd or out of sync with the rest of the world. You're freaking 64 years old, which I still, sometimes it's like, wow, really? How did I get here? So yeah, there's that. The self-assessment thing. So when the doctor says, how you doing? It's like, well, I think I'm doing okay. I feel like it took me longer to do this, or, this something else was a struggle. But, I've been very fortunate. I think that cognitively and physically and many other ways, I'm very mildly affected.
Got it.
Also, I'm now part of 3 different research studies. One of the benefits of going to a UC neurologist is not only a fantastic neurological department there at UC, but there's a lot of research going on. So I just joined a study a week ago and picked up another study earlier this year, and then there's another one I've been in for about 5 years. So I'm trying to participate in as much as I can to give back, and then the other way of giving back is to be open about it and talk to people about it and try to counter misperceptions about it and just be willing to talk.
What advice would you offer those who are maybe approaching retirement? I'm looking to my co-host here. Curveballs are in varying forms somewhat normal, right? Life isn't static. It's not scripted. It's
summer strikes and summer balls.
Yeah, summer home runs.
Summer home runs, exactly. Curveball itself could yield different results of what you do with it and where it is.
Plans should be made in pencil.
So is that the takeaway, right? What advice would you give to our listeners maybe who are approaching retirement, who are hearing a curveball concept for the first time?
Well, it's easy to say. It's harder to do. To be flexible and to try to not react negatively. It's supernatural to react negatively. So it's not like it's easy. It's hard. It's hard work. Has anybody done the Enneagram thing? Or personality assessment, let's say, of varying personalities. Each one has a number. I'm a 1, which doesn't surprise some people. But part of it also tells you what you go to. Each personality has a positive side and a negative side to it. I'm a 1, but it tells me where I go when I get negative, and then what number I need to go to right the ship and get positive. Mm-hmm. And part of righting the ship is accepting things the way they are and going with the flow a little bit and not being too rigid. So I know that that's something I have to work on and have to do, based on the Enneagram, but I think it's pretty accurate. And I think that goes with the curveball thing. You've got to roll with it a little bit and maybe learn how to hit one.
Because they're not as scary after you hit the first one.
I think
Yeah. It's headed for your ear, but somehow lands at your foot.
Yeah,
Right?
Well, that's a sinker. But but the outlook that you have, and you explained it through that, I applaud you.
Yeah.
Because what you've been through this year, as well as what you've had experience for the last 8 years, and now you're really living in it with your Parkinson's, that could set people on the couch that would say, what the heck am I doing and why am I still here? And
Mailing it in.
Yeah, and I'm done. I'm done. Now it's just doctor visit after doctor visit, and we're going to move to another place, and everything that I knew what was is now totally different, and they can't recover from it. But I applaud you, because I know that there are hard times. I'm sure there are hard times, but you're managing it, and you explained it through that test. But is there something in the heart that just says what's important?
I mentioned the little bit of wisdom I took from that Facebook post, and I've been sort of collecting things that I find from podcasts and other places. And there was a recent podcast with Judd Apatow. Do you know who that is?
Yep.
Lots of young coming-of-age movies, and also 40-Year-Old Virgin, which was kind of a coming-of-age movie. I took notes on something that he said when the interviewer was asking him about coming of age. And to quote him, he said, we're always coming of age. I don't think it ever ends. It's just another phase of how hard it is to learn the lessons of life and how much has to happen to you before you begin to get it all. So
It's a good summary of coming of age, really, right?
Well, yeah, but do you remember being 25 and thinking you knew everything, and then being 35 and thinking you knew everything, and then being 50 and thinking, oh God, these kids don't know anything. And basically you never, you're always coming of age. You're always learning. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful. I mean, he says there's so much that has to happen to you to begin to get it all. And then he says there's a lot of challenges, and it works best when we're kind to each other and we figure out how to be there for each other. And you take a lot of hits. So you've got to take some hits, some body blows, in order to keep coming of age over and over and over again. We're only going to get wiser if we can manage to extract that from it instead of all the negative stuff.
Yeah, and
we're only going to learn more about ourselves.
True.
Yep.
One more thing I want to bring up from our pre-meeting that we had on this. You talked about the value of being involved one-on-one with people versus social media. You want to share that with our listeners?
Yeah, I think something that Penny and I have both discovered during this process is that have had wonderful support on social media from folks near and afar, and that's great, and it's much appreciated. Each response that is encouraging just helps brighten our day a little bit. But there's nothing like just being with people in real life, going out to dinner, going out for coffee, doing something else with people in real life that really is immensely comforting and rewarding. And it's not even that we have to spend time talking about the fire or whatever, is negative or going on that we're trying to recover from, but it's just about being around people. And I think it's real easy to center ourselves around being online and thinking that we're really connected with a lot of people online, when a few connections in real life can make up for a multitude of connections online. And I had a friend who's been keeping tabs with me and on how things are going, and she said, what do you need? And I said, what I need is just to be in touch with people in real life. And there's a social group that meets about once a quarter, roughly, to get together, people in the business that I was in. And she said, it's time for this group to get together. We haven't gotten together for a while. I'm gonna put it together. And I got to see a lot of folks and talk and have a few beers and catch up with people, and it was enormously healing.
That's awesome.
You know, to be with people. So I think not only for situations like this, but just in light of the whole online thing that we're all kind of trapped in many ways, is that we got to break out of that and get back to spending more time with people in real life.
Well, what a year. What a year.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet, and there's years ahead, and but again, I'm in awe of how your attitude, your demeanor, and you know, we've been talking through the processes that have happened throughout this year, and you're a good man, and we're very happy to have you as a friend of the Redirect Podcast, and as we've talked, we want you to be involved with us and how we're doing our little thing here, and so when you get back from that cruise, all right, we're going to pull you into some meetings and get you busy.
All right,
get you back to where we were.
Right, and you can follow up with me about mid-26 when we're putting the last touches on the house, hopefully, and
maybe we'll have a podcast from your kitchen.
Oh, maybe so.
That'd be cool.
That would be fun. And if there's anything you need, I mean, now and coming ahead, you know, I'll take you to more doctor's appointments if you need it.
All right.
My rate's pretty cheap.
Yeah, you guys have been great. Dale helped me out just a few days after I reached out to Dale, and everybody has been great in supporting us. And that's a hard thing to do, actually, asking for help. And you're so overwhelmed that it's hard to even figure out what help you need, or you feel like you need help with 100 things and you don't know how to sort them out. But yeah, it's all been appreciated, and it's all great. And I appreciate the friendship here and the association with the podcast.
And thank you very much for telling all of that, telling us about the curveballs, how you deal with them. And like we've talked about earlier, I think sharing your story is going to encourage people to make connection with people. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, thanks, John. Have a great trip.
Thank you.
Catch you next time on the Redirect Podcast. Big thanks to the University of Cincinnati's 1819 Innovation Hub for allowing us to use the eSports recording studio to record today's podcast. Catch up on all the Redirect Podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To begin your Redirect journey, head over to redirect-u.com. Want to connect with the Redirect team? Feel free to email us at info@redirect-u.com. Remember, there's purpose in your life, so find it and go do something about it.
Hey, I've got one more comment. The Redirect Podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We engage in an open, honest conversations about personal growth, life transitions, and the lessons we've learned through our own experiences. While we speak as experts in our own lives, we are not licensed therapists, medical professionals, or certified coaches. The content shared on the Redirect Podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of qualified professionals for any physical, mental, or emotional concerns that you may have. We're grateful to share this space with you and hope that our stories inspire reflection and connection. If you're in need of more support, we encourage you to connect with a trusted professional who can help.